Your Running Rebels completely no-show in a rivalry game versus Reno. Really tough performance. This team's been hot and cold for a lot of this season, and now they are, as the great musicians would say, cold as ice. This is the Let's Run podcast. Everybody, welcome to the show tonight. We are live, whether the Rebels are playing good, whether the Rebels are playing bad. We are live talking about the team we love, regardless of the results. Even tonight, a night where the Reno University fans will definitely be able to have their fair share of laughs at the Rebels. And, that's the way a rivalry goes. When you win, you win. When you lose, you lose. You got to take it on the chin, and you got to tip your cap a little bit and move on. The Rebels with 5 losses now in conference play, falling at Reno University 89-76. This game was a struggle from the beginning, really, and kind of highlighted a lot, not that we needed them highlighted, but highlighted a lot of the issues that this team has. If you want to go broader, I'm going to try and keep it kind of, I've done a lot of discussions recently about the state of the program, our coach. I'm going to try and keep this post game show as much about this team, this year's team, this performance, and what it tells us about the team. Listen, it was always going to be tough. Reno is a team that has only lost one home game in conference this year. They lost a tough one to San Diego State at home. But, and otherwise has been a really stellar home team basically all season. Reno has been a tough team to beat up at Lawler Event Center. And so, I wasn't really expecting a win here, although, with how this team has played on the road, I think you kind of had a false hope that perhaps they could turn on the Jets and become a better team than they have been. That obviously wasn't what happened here. They were not good tonight. Really, 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 really not good. And that final score, that final score of 89-76 is honestly pretty misleading. The Rebels were able to score a whole bunch of points in garbage time to make their shooting percentages and their offense look a lot better than it actually was in this game. This game was over with about 12 minutes to go, 13 minutes to go, as Reno, I believe, got up to 19, was up by 19 or 21 at that point in the game. Let's go to your guys' comments. This team might not win 3 more games this season. I know the freshman was hurt. Pitiful performance. Yeah, I mean, if your freshman who shoots 50% from the free throw line turns the ball over a decent amount, if he's the reason, him being out is the reason why your team lost, there's just something wrong with your team. Brady says, unfortunately, no answers for this team. Might consider shaking up the starting lineup more. No offense leads to being down big early on. Yeah, this starting lineup and look, the starting lineup has changed with Tyron Jones out. So Tyron Jones definitely adds a lot more of a dynamic feel to this game. But when the combination of Howie, Isaac, Dre, Kamani, and Emmanuel Steffen, the ball just sticks too much. The team doesn't have enough shooting. It doesn't have enough ball handling. They struggle. This is the biggest thing that I noticed tonight, and I really saw this. This is part of the reason why they got crushed by New Mexico too. And they talked about this in the broadcast, so I'm sure if you were paying attention, you heard them talk about it. The ball gets stuck. They do not move the ball around very well. When somebody gets the ball at the top of the key, their timing's off, their spacing's off. Players end up holding on to the ball for a second or two longer than they really should be. And it just creates a muddy, every time a team is playing, even mediocre defense against the Rebels, their offense is falling off of a cliff. And that's not even to talk about the defense right now, which UNLV's defense has not been very good all season, but it is getting really bad. Their defense is down to 167th in the country. Their offense is 122nd. Um, they cannot play defense, and their offense is falling off a cliff too. I mean, this team just seems like they're kind of crumbling at this current point in time. And it's not good. Perry says they should have lost by 50. It's certainly, if they would have lost by 50 versus the 13 they ended up losing by, it didn't really feel like that much of a difference. They got crushed in this game, and a 13-point loss is generous because this game was really non-competitive, especially after the half and for a lot of the first half. In the last 6 minutes of the first half, the Rebels did put together a nice little run. Most of it was due to Reno being a little confunded by the 1-3-1 defense. And that often happens with the 1-3-1 defense. Pasner has run it for teams in the past. And it can work for 4 or 5 possessions. But once teams start to get into a rhythm against it, the 1-3-1 loses its utility pretty fast, which is why you see coaches, and Pastner does this too, kind of go in and out of it pretty quickly. They'll throw it in occasionally just to switch up a defense and kind of throw off the other team, but it's not something you can run for an entire game. You can run it for small stretches of a game, but if you can't play man-to-man defense in college basketball, you're going to be cooked. That's just kind of the way. If you can't play man-to-man defense in basketball, you are eventually going to run into huge problems. And the 1-3-1 perhaps exemplifies that issue, perhaps more than any other type of zone. It was over when it was 11-3. Yeah, with how the Rebels started, I just even down 5 at the half, I just thought, man, they just don't have it. This team's not playing well. Kamani Hamilton is so funny because he's asked for 99% of the game and then he'll just randomly crucify somebody. Yeah, I don't want to speak bad about individual players, because they are trying, I guess. I don't know. And Kamani's numbers don't look that bad. I mean, obviously he has a terrible rebounding rate. I mean, he's an awful rebounder. And but Kamani is just he is just one, and I say this, knowing that again, it's not fun to go after a player individually, but he is one of my least favorite running Rebels of all time. I don't like the way he plays. And coming into the season, I had faith that Kamani was going to be, and he should be. Again, I don't know this for sure, and take this with a grain of salt. Nobody really knows. I mean, I'm sure the staff knows and the team knows, but I think Kamani's our highest paid player. We brought him in to be our star. I know Miles Che was obviously a big investment. Dre was a big investment, but Kamani was supposed to be our best player this season, and his decision making and his positioning and his just weirdly inconsistent play as a senior who's supposed to be the guy. Kamani's played in 2 NCAA tournaments. He started his career at Mississippi State. He was a pretty good player, really good player at High Point for a couple of years. Kamani is just not it, man. And that's kind of the thing. This team really doesn't work without Kamani being a very good player, and he just hasn't been a good player, despite the fact that the numbers would indicate that he's our best player, and he still does good things. I mean, not everything Kamani does is bad, but I'm not a fan of Kamani. And I want to like him. Coming into the season, I thought Kamani, he's going to be like Mike Moser, and he's not. So it is what it is. Howie's very bad offensively. Yeah, Howie did not have a good game. Howie was kind of he was an unranked player out of Louisville and played some, I believe Howie played JUCO ball. Did Howie play JUCO ball before going to UTRGV last year? I like Howie. I don't mind Howie as a role player. If he's your 7th or 8th best, I mean, he played for Winthrop in Illinois State before, and then he played for UT Rio Grande Valley. So not exactly a murderer's row of teams that Howie has played for. He's just not, Howie just doesn't have a super high ceiling. He's a fine player. I don't have anything against Howie. I think he's fine. But he just isn't. He's not good enough to be your 3rd or 4th best player on a team. If he's your 7th or 8th, you can survive. Perry says they're terrible against the zone, no movement. Yeah, this team does not play well together. They can play well together in moments, but there's a huge issue with chemistry and how this team plays, team basketball. Pain and simple, no point guard. It's more, obviously not having a point guard is huge, and certainly if Miles Che was playing, this season would be going differently. But injuries are a part of college basketball, and you don't get passes when your team is super injured. They can help explain why your team isn't doing as well as they could be, but injuries do not excuse a team just not playing hard and not playing intense and not playing gritty, tough basketball. Your team can still do those things even if you're out with key guys. And this team has not done that consistently. They've had a few games this season where they've done that and they've looked awesome, including winning in Logan. But I frankly, I could care less about Che being out in some respects. Obviously, Che being out hurt the team a lot this season, but I don't want to act like there's some, if only this one thing had been differently, this whole season would be a lot different. It's like, no, like you saw how they played defense tonight. Like Miles Che isn't coming in and making this team incredible, or making this team even that good. They don't play defense. Kamani would still be Kamani even if Miles Che was playing, and I get that he would help, but I just like you got to have your guys playing hard, and you can't have your guys playing dumb. And these guys don't always play hard and always play dumb. I do not like the decisions this team makes, and perhaps it might be a talent issue sometimes if you're not talented, but I think there's enough talent in this team that they could just. In fact, I know there is. They went up and beat Utah State in Logan. They beat Memphis in Memphis, and again, these are with huge injuries. They beat Stanford at Stanford. This team has the talent to be way better than this, and they're not because they play dumb and they don't always play hard, and that's on coaching, man. I mean, that's coaching. 31 fouls. Yeah. I don't understand why Pastner refuses to stick with what's working defensively. We get 3 stops in a row in zone and score on a fast break multiple times, and then he goes right back to man to get fried. It's kind of like what I said earlier. Like you can't stay in a 1-3-1 very long. Teams figure it out, and perhaps you can say he should stick with the zone a little bit longer. But the zone has an expiration date when you run a 1-3-1. Now you can run a 2-3 or a 3-2 for a lot longer than you can run a 1-3-1. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much of a difference it would have made. Now, I certainly agree with you, Lucky, that they should have stuck in the 1-3-1 longer than they did. I tried to support UNLV because our conference, but right now I think it's best for me to just be quiet as much as I love talking basketball within the Mountain West Conference. Yeah, you're fine, Timothy. All good. It's hard when so many players are asked to play positions they're not prepared or qualified to play for. Yeah, I totally agree, Mom. There's a bunch of guys playing out of position on this team. At the same time, they don't always play hard. So I don't really care if they're, they don't play team basketball. They don't play as a collective unit, and that just puts you in a really big disadvantage. So let's go over the stats here. We can talk about the stats. The stats don't really mean anything. You're going to see some guys on our team that had decent numbers, but you should just know that so many of these offensive stats came when the game was already essentially over. So UNLV loses 89-76. Obviously, Reno was very favored to win this game, so we're not talking about a loss versus the team that the Rebels should have won. Dre gives Lawhord leads the Rebels. Again, I thought Dre fought tonight. He didn't have a good defensive night. He struggled on the defensive side of the ball, but certainly he played his heart out offensively. And when we're throwing this much offensive responsibility on him, it's tough. It's tough to be too hard on Dre, even though I thought he was getting cooked on ball on defense quite a bit in this game. But Dre was really good on offense. He was 6 of 8 from inside the arc, 4 of 9 from 3, finished with 26 points, had 3 turnovers and 3 assists. Dre was fine. Kamani, again, finishes. I mean, I'll say this. It was one of Kamani's better rebounding efforts. He had 6 rebounds in this game. He had 4 assists, no turnovers. So those are definite positives. But again, I mean, only 7 shot attempts. We got to have more shots for Kamani. I mean, we need Kamani taking 15, 20 shots a game, really. I mean, genuinely, we need Kamani taking like 15 shots a game, and he's not shooting enough. And often that's because he's dealing with personal fouls. Kamani picks up really dumb fouls that do not affect the play. It's not Kamani fighting over a screen. It's Kamani getting caught in a bad position and fouling somebody. Isaac Williamson, again, you look at his stats, 2 of 3 from 3, 10 points, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 1 block, 1 steal. Offensively, Isaac was passable. I mean, not good, but I guess you could call Isaac passable on offense. But Isaac was a train wreck on defense. Just got blown by a ton, lost his man. Howie Fleming, yeah, easily one of Howie's. And then look, Howie, from what I understand, I remember that Howie is dealing with an injury, so I don't think Howie's completely healthy. To be fair to him, but Howie did not have a good game tonight. Did have 6 rebounds, so credit there, but had a couple of turnovers, only 1 assist, 5 points, missed all of his threes. Just not a ton there. Emmanuel Steffen was unbelievably bad. I mean, just fouled every time he was anywhere near the ball. I mean, I'd rather have Emmanuel Steffen's fouls against shooters at the rim than Kamani's fouls 94 feet from the basket. But of course, Emmanuel Steffen picks up those kind of dumb fouls too sometimes. Just a 0 point, zero, only shot once. Finishes with 3 rebounds, 1 turnover. I didn't even realize how bad Emmanuel Steffen was tonight. I have no idea what happened to that dude after that Stanford game. Steffen's weird. I feel like he plays kind of low to the ground, and outside of that Stanford game, I just have been really unimpressed with Emmanuel Steffen this year. And again, he's basically a freshman. I mean, I know it says I think he's a redshirt freshman, a sophomore. I think he's got 3 more years of eligibility, but Steffen has been just a disappointment this season. Really frustrating player. But again, I mean, I don't really blame Steffen nearly as much as I blame a guy like Kamani Hamilton, because Kamani's a senior. Steffen's doesn't have a ton of experience, and so whatever. Naz Cunningham, I think Naz just has to be a huge part of the rotation. He's too talented to be. This team is just not gifted enough offensively to have a guy as talented as Naz Cunningham. Listen, I totally understood benching Naz Cunningham. He was playing selfish basketball often, and not smart basketball, and really struggled on defense. But Naz is just so talented, and his scoring just looks so much easier than everybody else's so often. He and Dre really are the most talented offensive players on the team. And I think that Naz has to just be a huge part of the rotation for this team to be able to score. At the same time, I understand why you wouldn't want to play him, because he really struggles, especially off ball. He loses. There's a really egregious. He helped one pass away at the start of this game, but I just think Naz is too Naz is too talented not to be on the floor, and this team just needs offensive talent. Jacob Bernardi, he had moments for sure. Didn't have any turnovers tonight. Did finish with 4 personal fouls, 7 points, had 5 rebounds, 1 assist. Jacob, in the second half, a lot of his scoring was done. Those 7 points was done when the game was already well out of hand. Jacob in the first half had just 2 egregiously bad misses at the rim. And Jacob defensively, again, just has been a disaster. Walter Brown, goodness, man. I like Walter Brown. I mean, I don't understand Walter Brown as a player, because I think he's talented. I think he's got good skills. I think he could be a useful basketball player, but just not a lot happens when he's on the floor. Again, the Walter Brown, we had 12 scholarship players, and Walter Brown was the guy that we picked up at the end of the summer. And I can guarantee you, if Passner could go back in time and redo that, he would pick up a guard, some guy with point guard experience. When we got Walter Brown. Lastly, Al Green, whatever. I mean, he played a lot of garbage time. He made 2 threes when the game was largely out of hand. The Rebels overall shoot. I mean, our offense, again, you might think our offense was good because we scored 1.13 points per possession, 48% from inside the arc, 42% from 3. We had 11 3-pointers tonight, 9 of 11 from the free throw line. Not too bad. Even on the glass, the Rebels got 30. The Rebels and Reno had the same number of rebounds. Reno had 30 rebounds and the Rebels had 30 rebounds. The Rebels had the difference is the Rebels had 13 assists and 10 turnovers. Reno had 20 assists and 7 turnovers. Reno was just cooking UNLV offensively the whole game. I just hated this. I hated this effort. I hated the way we played. I really just did not like. I have nothing. I don't know, Brian. Passner threw this team together, and so many injuries. Next year will be better. He's going to throw next year. The thing about it is, Brian, He's going to throw next year's team together too. Like, do you really think this team's going to retain Tyron and Dre, and we're losing Kamani and Howie? This team will have 4 new starters next year. Next year's team will be thrown together just as much as this year's team was. Now, there's a chance we bring back guys like Isaac Williamson and maybe Tyron Jones. I mean, there's a chance. I don't act like it's a 0% chance. But next year's team will be just as thrown together as this one. Now, he should have the full 15 scholarships to work with next year as opposed to the 13 that he had to work with this year. But if you're expecting like this team to be brought back, Tyron's just an immensely talented player. I don't know what UNLV is going to offer to pay him next year, but it's not going to be as much as he's going to get from a Power 4 team that wants to bet on his potential. And Dre, who is just putting up a awesome offensive season and being asked to play out of position and just doing great things on the floor. Like, Dre's going to get a lot of offers too. Now I'm not saying we won't bring back any of these guys, but we're losing Al Green, we're losing Howie, we're losing Kamani. This is not like a young team. This is not like a young team. There's a couple of young players on the team, but this is not a team that's going to be like a continuity roster. So, and yeah, the injury luck should be better next year. I mean, it might not be. We might have terrible injury luck. Sometimes you just do, and it sucks. The injury luck should be just law of averages better than it is this year. But like, if Pastner couldn't get this group of guys to play hard and tough and gritty, even if the results don't, because I didn't expect them to win this game tonight. Even if the results don't go great, if Pastner can't get this group of guys to play hard, tough, and gritty all year, why should we expect him to be able to do it next year? And again, he's had good performances as our coach this year. Our team's had good performances this season, but this up and down nature, man, and it's not because the team's young. This team is not young. This team starts four upperclassmen. This team starts 4 upperclassmen. Everybody but Tyron's an upperclassman. Like, this is not a young team. This is not a team that's a core that we're going to bring back next year. So they might be better next year, but nothing you're seeing this year is telling you that they will be. And there's no guarantee. In fact, it's very likely they won't bring back many of their players. So I thought Stefan was going to be a monster, and after that first game, it's all been downhill. Yeah, Stefan hasn't had a great team. They look like a Division II school I've never seen. Less off-ball movement. I think I got these already. But guys, I just like, we could be in for a tough rest of the season. Genuinely, this could be a tough end to this season. And I guess we'll see, man. They have 5 losses now. They're basically out of contention for a top 5 seed in the conference. They're very likely to be a 7 or an 8 seed, which, hey, on the bright side, that will probably match us up against a team. We might be bad enough not to be matched up against Air Force in the first round of the conference tournament. So UNLV finally might beat a team. I believe 2016 was the last time we beat a team not named Air Force, or 2015 was the last time we beat a team not named Air Force in the Mountain West Conference tournament. One of the most embarrassing things about UNLV basketball is how bad they've been in the Mountain West Conference tournament that's played on in their home arena. But I guess we'll see. They weren't going to win this game. Let's see how they play next game. See if they can build on something. See if Tyron can come back. It's probably smart to sit Tyron tonight. This was not a game you were probably going to win, even if the Rebels had showed up fully healthy and played. They could have played pretty well tonight and not pulled this one out. So whatever. It is what it is. We'll move on. And I guess we'll see how they do. Glorification of college degrees and prior playing and coaching experience gets you 10 to 11. Don't know what that means, Ravi, but it's good to see you in the transfer portal era. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'm disappointed, guys. I'm sad. I'm not that mad because they just aren't very good. They're not playing very well, and yeah. So, all right, guys, you guys have a good night. I will talk to you on Tuesday after the Fresno State game. And we'll get through it, guys. There are brighter days ahead. They may be further ahead than we would like them to be, but there are brighter days ahead. So I appreciate you all. We should be grateful that football is doing as well as it is, because if not, the UNLV sports scene would be pretty bleak right now. And Dan Mullen's doing great. I don't know that I love the Jackson Arnold pickup in the transfer portal for football, but Dan Mullen's doing a great job. And UNLV football should be an outstanding program next year. So we'll have that to look forward to. And I guess we'll see about basketball. We'll see if they can do something this year. But I think putting your faith in Kamani Hamilton was the fatal error of this team, not even necessarily the injuries. And I feel bad saying that, because I want to like Kamani. I would love it if Kamani was the guy that I want him to be. And I'm sure Josh would too. And I'm sure Kamani's frustrated too. So, I'm not trying to say anything negative about him. It just as a person or anything, I just hasn't worked out this year. And I hold him to a high standard because he's supposed to be the best player on the team. So, all right, guys, you guys have a great night. Appreciate you all. And let's run.